Alright everyone, it's time to talk about the Lamestream yet again, because of course they're up to their usual shenanigans, but some people don't put two and two together. Here's the scoop, and this is something I've sparred with some people already on Twitter. The Lamestream, not just the media, although that's a big part of it, cannot survive in a period of peace very easily. They've tried it before. It's very difficult for them because they've devolved into tabloid sputum. And so what they do is they attempt to stir things up. They attempt to get people angry. They like it when there's violence. They like it when people dislike one another or they become hateful. They don't want to suppress, like there's a reason that they always half-ass it on hate speech. They love censorship because it helps them knock their competitors out of the way when it's inevitably misapplied, when they, help their advertisers and other corporate buddies to misuse, those systems in Silicon Valley. But at the same time, they don't want actual hate speech, so-called, to disappear. If it disappeared, then they would lose a major story that they can always put to the top when it's a slow news day. It's all about the money, dude. Politicians have the same basic ethos in mind. Here's why centralized policies within politics don't work. Here's why socialism can never work. Here's why communism can never work, fascism, all of these centralized, sort of more authoritarian orders. The problem is, people, once they're in power, they seek to maintain it. How do they maintain it most easily? They make sure that there are problems to solve. If there were no problems to solve, fundamentally, if there were no problems at all, you could have a total anarcho-capitalist society with basically no constraint whatsoever. At the lowest common level, you wouldn't even need a privatized intervention within anyone's life. People would literally do whatever the fuck they wanted because there would be nothing to intervene. There'd be nobody breaking any moral codes. There'd be nobody rocking the boat. It's a utopian bullshit idea that will never actually happen without turning the human race into a bunch of Borgs, which some people appear to be comfortable with, which is perhaps the most frightening thing of all. But other than that, no, it's not actually possible. Because there are problems, unfortunately, what happens, like with Christchurch, let's analyze. You look at this event. A bunch of people get killed. What does the New Zealand government immediately do? They immediately begin threatening their own people if they watch or share the video or have a copy of it. Proposing up to 10 years in prison for having a copy of a video that's floating around everywhere online anyway, which is, asinine. So they do that. And they talk about how they want to disarm law-abiding citizens. The Prime Minister, apparently the Attorney General there can do that more or less unilaterally, which is crazy talk. And then they start censoring a bunch of websites. So they're not talking about the actual problem. They're not talking about the fact that sometimes a psycho goes crazy and shoots people, or the fact that because of lamestream media sites encouraging censorship, a bunch of echo chambers have been created online. Echo chambers promulgated in part by the left-wing media. They don't want to talk about that. That's a difficult issue because it's more simplistic than just, oh, somebody got shot. I think that I'll ban guns. That'll solve the problem because criminals will always obey the law. That's essentially what it boils down to. It's a bunch of fucking bullshit. Society's a cock anyway. Society's a turd. I mean, if society fucking burned to the ground, it would be a good thing for the world. That's the ironic part. But then you have some idiot like the Christchurch shooter. Oh, bam, bam, oh, I changed the world. Yeah, you did. Definitely for the worse, number one. Number two, any ideology you express just lost adherence because people are going to think you're fucking psycho, which is, not entirely inaccurate, I suppose, considering your actions. Then you get people who mysteriously ignore that fact and actually think that he accomplished something. Very strange times we live in. But the lamestream media doesn't want peace. Even some of the independent content creators probably don't want peace. Because, I mean, if you got some of the weird side of YouTube people that every video they make is like all in caps, and like, oh my god, collapse is coming. The reptilians are coming to eat us. The Greys are coming to force you to take fluoride to destroy your pineal gland. Government's going to shoot you. If you have a situation like that, then yeah, those people are making money off of tragedy and weird shit too. Yeah, there are some independent content creators that fall into that same category. There's a reason why I don't subscribe to people who have that kind of views. They also tend to be less accurate. I don't mean like every all caps poster does this. Like Goodman does the all caps thing a lot, but he's not a doomsayer. He's actually more of an optimist in many ways. And you get them too. Just like at the very least, at least he's interesting to listen to, which is more than a lot of the weird side of YouTube. And these days you can barely find it because YouTube right now I think is still censoring searches right now for anything that's not from priority creators, and it's literally mundane. Like I looked up ham sandwich And what else? I looked up a bunch of innocuous terms that have nothing to do with like politics, news, certainly not Christchurch, anything, totally G-rated content. All you get is the priority creator results. Right now you can actually sort of see who's favored by YouTube if you just search for anything and try to filter for last hour. You'll see page after page after page of very, very tame content from all sorts of, some of it years old. Like I saw videos that were 9 years old in the list that have been simply favored by YouTube because of who happens to have uploaded it. NBC and CNN and shit like that. Boring shit, in other words. Dude, if I want that, I'll just fucking turn on the TV. The Lamestream doesn't want peace. They don't want peace and quiet. Peace and quiet doesn't sell. What do the tabloids do? No, what sells? The Chupacabra attack or fucking the New World Order, something like that. That's what sells. That's why they're trying to censor such material. The independent commentary is way more interesting. If you want weird shit like that, all you had to do was type it in on YouTube. You'd find 1,000 people making a video every day about these topics. Oh, 9/11 and reptilian aliens and the Gulf of Tonkin, which isn't actually a conspiracy, as we've learned. Operation Northwoods, which is also not a conspiracy. The business plot, which also... You fucking getting a pattern here? Yeah, there's some fuckery going on, trust me. Regardless, though, of what you think about any individual topic, it was being covered by a lot of independent people. Now it's covered by priority creators seeking to debunk, which is like they want to make money off the topic without actually supporting it, which is really disingenuous, and priority creator hacks. And that's just on YouTube, but I mean, it's basically replicated on other sites. Twitter algorithmically demotes people way worse than YouTube does. You try getting an audience on Twitter without something going viral. You try getting it to go viral. It's going to be rather difficult unless you're saying the right things. Be pure censorship, but for some reason that's considered a conspiracy theory, even though Jack Dorsey has openly alluded to it on multiple occasions. Not least of which when he was talking to Tim Pool. In the Lamestream, meanwhile, well, they sit there and they peddle as much fear and paranoia as possible to get you to hate your fellow man. Oh yeah, they want you to think that things are falling apart because then you'll start reading their news more because they're a bunch of hacks. That's about all. Peace out.